I think a lot of times when people hear, and I'm thinking like people outside of agriculture, when you hear the word farming or farmer, you're thinking of somebody that has a plot of land that they're going out to physically work, or maybe it's, livestock that they're tending to. But your space really has been indoor farming, vertical farming, controlled environment farming. How has that perception changed for you, maybe from what you originally thought farming was compared to what maybe farming for the future is? And my second question is, do you think, just based on your experience, you've worked in a lot of different countries and spaces, do you think we're going to see a big shift toward more of that indoor, vertical, controlled environment agriculture in the future?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think like for me, growing up with what would probably be considered, I guess, more traditional agriculture in Australia, I've always had a deep respect and like interest and passion for that. But I also think like having worked with Sundown Pastoral, they're a very innovative farm for Australia. They've done a lot and they've always sort of been very forward thinking. So in terms of what we're doing here, I think obviously it's definitely partly regional specific because we don't really have any other option in Dubai in terms of like the growing unless we're talking in the winter. Otherwise we are purely reliant on importation. So we have to be as creative and forward thinking as possible. So yeah, I think one thing I have found interesting, like working more in that space, is that I think there's definitely an easier way to sort of educate and get like a involvement from the younger generation in this space, as opposed to potentially some traditional agricultural practices. And I think obviously with technology being a key part of that, kids are growing up, attached to their phone, laptop and everything nowadays. So a huge part of our job, especially in previous role at Botanica, was really data analytics. It's a lot of like people management. It's a lot of, more technology focus, like understanding like the LED grow lights, the nutrient dosing system, the pumps, like understanding how all the technology integrates with one another, and how to sort of optimize that. So that's definitely something that differs and I think is interesting to a lot of like the younger generation, and is far away from sort of more the traditional agriculture. But at the same time, I think it's probably understated how much, or how, I guess, much technology goes into all agriculture and how, I guess, scientific it really is in terms of the process. So I think this is just one way of sort of allowing that connection. So I found that with like school groups, I think it is an easy way to get kids interacting with agriculture, the indoor space. So and here, yeah, it just really is like a necessary practice in order for the agricultural industry to grow here. So I think, yeah, in terms of whether we'll see whether it's indoor vertical farms like globally, I think for me, the way I see it is it's a tool, and it depends on how you want to utilize it or for that specific region. Obviously, with the way that cities, like people are moving from more rural to urban areas, you have higher density populations. Being able to have an indoor vertical farm in and local to like a high population area, I think makes a lot of sense in certain aspects. And I think also, yeah, obviously it could be a good way to get the younger generation still involved in agriculture.